Here we are in beautiful South Africa, and we've just finished 3 days of judging for the IWSC. So, Xenia, can I ask, what was your overall impression, and is there something that particularly surprised and excited you?
So my overall impression was there was a really good standard throughout. I think we awarded an awful lot of medals, all with really strong justification. Came across some lovely gold medals in all sorts of different classifications, but what most excited me was the Cat Classiques and the sparkling wines. I haven't tasted that many Cat Classiques before, but the overall quality and their desire to focus on time and maturation really came through. So there's a nice complexity going on, a bit of autolytic character, and I think they've got a really nice future in the international market. Not to compete against champagne, but to be absolutely top dollar in the sparkling wine market.
Yeah, their own entity, and it is fantastic. I think we all agree with that. Now, moving on to you, John. How did you feel about the white grapes we saw? What surprised you there?
Well, back up the point about Cat Classique and just add to the point about the value for it as well. You mentioned champagne. We have champagne at the top, and so long we've had champagne, and Prosecco and Cava at the bottom. In the middle, it hasn't really sold, you know, Cremant in France, but I think Cat Classique has a massive opportunity to step into that middle ground.
Absolutely. Because they'll make champenoise, which just gives them super quality.
I felt that too. They were amazing. I mean, absolutely outstanding. And I think, being in the market, seeing it from the entree perspective, and seeing so many examples from around the world, I was just really struck. And we don't see enough of them in the UK, and I hope there will be more.
Good. Other whites, though, I mean, we knew about Chardonnay and we knew about Chenin, and I think we may talk about those in a moment. But for me, the big surprise was the blends of Semillon and Sauvignon. We had a lot of Sauvignon Blanc, ranging from ordinary to excellent. We had some straight Semillons, which could be good, but it was the blends that were really outstanding. I think there was one flight of Semillon blends where I think everything got a silver and there were a couple of golds. And without giving anything away, I think what you'll put in this glass here is a gold medal winning Sauvignon Semillon. But what they get is that balance of oak and fruit and freshness in a really sublime way. And in the past we've always thought of white Bordeaux and probably Margaret River, and South Africa has pushed itself into that category. It's really exciting.
Well, you absolutely deserve to be having a very, very good drink right now with everything you've been doing the last 3 days. And Rebecca, what about the reds? Were you surprised by those?
I thought we saw some very strong reds. I was particularly struck by those that incorporated some unexpected amount of, perhaps Cabernet Franc or Malbec, which gave a sort of a real kind of graphite-y smoothness or kind of chocolatey fluidity to the mid-palate, and I was surprised by that. And we saw quite a lot of that. Also Pinotage, I mean, much fresher, much more refined than perhaps I had been expecting within a larger lineup, which was really, really great to see. And also some really kind of, delicate, sort of more bony examples. And that was really, really fantastic and really surprised me.
There does seem to be a definite stylistic change that's going on, and everyone they think of South African wines, they're thinking Pinotage and Chenin Blanc. Those are sort of two headliners. In fact, John, what do you think about the Chenins or the Pinotage? What do you think about?
Well, I think the Pinotage thing is, but I agree with everything that's just been said by both of you about Pinotage, but it's that range that's so exciting, is that you can get the light, fresh, easy drinking, you can get the big, rich style, but also there is now this style that has an element of, it's this sort of new wave of Pinotage at a medium body, but with some of the chalky tannins, quite good acidity. It's just a style of Pinotage that, as you said, didn't really exist, and I wasn't expecting it to be so well represented. So that was great. Chenin, I think the only problem for IWSC and for all competitions is that the very top Chenins have become exceedingly expensive, very small production wines, and we obviously don't see those coming into competition. So when you look at the spread of golds, people might be surprised that there aren't quite as many Chenins as there are, vis-a-vis other grape varieties and vis-a-vis the importance of Chenin. But when the wines were good, they were exceptional. And I think what we particularly like, maybe this is the same theme that keeps coming out, but we like the way that the winemakers have dialed back on overt richness and allowed the natural quality of Chenin rather than just the sunshine version of Chenin to show through. So you've actually got that. You've got Loire style elegance, but with just a bit more joy from the climate and the terroir.
I think that what was exciting about both the Chenin and the Pinotage is exactly that, and it's the rise of entries from cooler climates, from further south, from more coastal areas. So you've got some really nice marginal climate wine growing going on, and that was evident and really joyous to see. Elegant balance and finesse rather than big busty fruit.
And I suppose what we got, in some of those as well, and some of the Cinsaults was, perhaps a little of that we might have expected if there'd been a greater showing of Pinots. Mm-hmm. And it was. I'd hope to see a few more Pinots in the competition, and perhaps there'll be more forthcoming in future. And those we did have were very intriguing. Took opened up in the glass a lot. Took quite a lot of sort of serious attention to judge, but that's expected. And I hope we'll see more of those.
Yeah,
bring in your Pinots. Send them in. We want to try them. We want to taste them.
But we didn't get that kind of, that light, or some of the sort of light brightness you might have expected.
Through other styles.
Yeah. So, that was represented. But yes, it would be lovely to have something.
I think your message is correct. More good ones will get the medals. We know they're out there, and we want to award them. We want to tell the world really that South Africa is a great Pinot producer. It's not an also brand. It's a really great Pinot producer.
And then you're known for sort of finding interesting wines around the place. So away from the sort of big hitters, what are you pretty excited about?
So there were a lot of interesting little great varieties coming in that one might not expect. We had some Viogniers and a Chanel. Chanel? Yeah. Never tasted that.
Never heard of it.
Oh, gorgeous.
Chenel.
Oh, absolutely lovely. It was so flavoursome, loads of fruit, really well balanced. So that was a little joy. And just seeing some more, a little bit more Cinsault, a little bit more Grenache, a little bit more Petit Verdot, and not just using them as backup, but some much more fronted blends. Albarino.
Yeah.
You used to know about Albarino?
Beautiful Albarino.
It was sad, look, I didn't come across, there might have been, but I didn't come across any Certico. But
we did hear yesterday it's been planted, but maybe not got to the competition.
Quite got there yet. But really good to see some more adventurous plantings going on, and some of the wines coming through. They might not all have won much in the way of grand big awards, but so nice to see such breadth of variety and style and quality. So that was really exciting.
And Malbec, I think you did mention it earlier, but Malbec as a dominant variety, not 100% often, but often as a dominant variety, and in a very interesting in-between style, which of course South Africa's always been good at, not quite as sweetly rich as the Argentinian sort of cliche, and obviously not as tannic and dry as the Carol from France. I mean, really hitting a nice sweet spot in the middle. That's been a development that I hadn't been so aware of until we got here.
No.
It's definitely an exciting time, and South Africa is absolutely adapting, creating all these new wines or new styles of wine. But Rebecca, I was wondering your thoughts on how South Africa is perceived in the UK. What do you think of the wines?
I think it varies depending on the demographic, and also whether you're in an on-trade or off-trade setting. I do feel that South Africa for some time, from a sort of image perspective, has languished, and I do feel very, very strongly, and even more so after the strength of entries and the diversity of entries in the competition, that South Africa is due its turn in the spotlight. I feel that it has the quality, diversity, the stylistic interest, the personality of wines to be able to be absolutely up there, and I very much hope that we'll see that. There are a lot of other reasons why that may well happen in the little while to come, whether that's to do with currency or very many reasons, and I very much hope that growers take heed and start to work harder to represent themselves in the UK market. I think that buyers, people like me and other opinion formers will be very, very receptive to that, all styles and at all levels, very much so.
I mean, look at the value. Don't you feel that the value is extraordinary?
Actually, when I buy wines at home, they are generally South African wines. I think that they offer tremendous quality for the value, and in fact the stuff that we've been seeing over these last 3 days excites me even more about people experimenting and trying things new.
I think there's more freshness. I mean, we probably as wine professionals and being wine professionals get very excited by freshness. And I think that lifts that drinkability, and I saw that in so many more of the wines than I'd expected this time around.
So Pinotage can be a bit controversial. I think it's had a bit of a bad rep in the past. What do you think could be the future of Pinotage in the UK? How do you guys feel about it?
I think maybe these cooler climate, fresher, lighter, more balanced and elegant style, as they're coming through into the market, will improve the perception and move us on from the slightly heavier, darker, over-extracted days of yore with Pinotage, and I look forward to a bit more of that. But I was just going back to the perception of South African wines in the market. In the world of retail and supermarkets, it's a category that's in growth and has been in growth over the last few years. But for me, what's really interesting for the consumer, and I think maybe this is where the producers could help develop their own messages, is the South Africans' pride in their flora and fauna and in their sustainable outlook on wine production. And so many people said, no, we're not organic because it restricts us in X, Y, and Z, and we can be more sustainable if we follow a sustainable model rather than a purely organic model. And just looking through some of the vineyards, where I've got sheep in some vineyards, I've seen cattle in some vineyards, there's very little immaculate rows of bald earth where they've been using herbicides, and there's a lot more natural.
And you feel that's not being projected enough, but actually there's a marketing job to be done there.
I think there's more. There was a marketing job, and that is known within the wine trade, but that needs to get down to the consumer level.
Yes.
Because it's such a strong message at the moment.
Yes, I think New Zealand is known for that, but South Africa is not, and that's probably not fair.
I think it's very much not fair because what the sustainable outlook and the desire to protect their environment and very special flora and fauna that they've got, and winemaking is very much part of that. So, yeah, hats off, well done them for doing such a good job on it, just tell well.
I also feel that they're not doing quantity yet at the expense of quality. I just sense that there is that kind of, there's a mindfulness, be a dreadful word, but mindfulness around production, and it probably links back to this concept of this, awareness of not going too far, not exploiting, every square metre of land.
Well, we've been reminded, haven't we, twice on this trip, that the total land given over to viticulture in South Africa is now 87,000 hectares, down from 110, and that is less than Bordeaux. And this is a very, very big country. So, nobody can say, as you said, that this country is being overexploited from a viticultural point of view. It's a sharply focused.
I think that's actually a very useful piece of advice for producers out there, and I'd love to know if you guys have any more ideas on how producers might approach getting their wines into an international market, or how they could improve those wines for an international market.
Keep talking to us, keep talking to buyers, keep talking to influencers, keep using social media. That it is such an underpowered machine, social media, in the wine industry. And it might not be my cup of tea, but I'm just a dinosaur, so that's fair enough. And I think there's huge leverage in putting wine in front of people and continuously putting wine in front of people. And from a producer's point of view, the best way to do that is to engage the UK wine trade and put wine in front of them so that they can infuse and pass the producer's enthusiasm onto that person.
It's very interesting that one of our team who's not in this little group here is Matthew from the Wine Society. And of course the Wine Society are well known for doing a lot of tastings with their customers, and South Africa is actually one of their biggest categories. I think probably more than for either most big or small retailers, and that's because once the good people of South Africa and their wines are put in front of people, the consumer can't resist, but they have to have the opportunity.
And also there's some really good stories. Producers have got great land, great vines, great stories, and it's not like, dare I say, some parts of Australia where it's all enormous bulk wines with no story, little heritage. South Africa talks a lot about heritage. We've got the Old Vine Project, the Heritage Vine Project, and I think that's really important and a really great message to go across.
I also think it plays into the premium, and look where we're at everywhere, but in the UK market, which at a premium level, you're looking at Burgundy, which is now inaccessible to most consumers, candidly. And the company I work for is a Burgundy specialist. It's a struggle because wines at a certain level it's just not feasible anymore. And I think what South Africa does so well is, stylistically and qualitatively in terms of the value as well, can pitch in there, you know, with a style that has some gravitas, you know, just, you know, not overblown, quite subtle, you know, mineral. Obviously, you know, you've got the fruit, but manages to ride that kind of line, and so can actually, you know, come in at that level that perhaps, you know, Burgundy at some levels have.
But also with Burgundy, like you say, price-wise going through the roof. Let's all repeat again. This is another great opportunity to bring on Pinot Noir.
Really want
and
Pinot Noir.
Also, part of that is that I think what I've learned is that there's so many really good marginal climates around it in South Africa, whether it's from altitude or maritime influence or length of season, and that is your greatest opportunity to produce really great wines.
I think the variety that we've seen on here is astounding, and it's only going to get better and better. So there's something for everyone really in South Africa, and we can ruminate over a glass of wine all night, which we evidenced yesterday. So I'm going to move us swiftly on, and just as a conclusion, I'd love to have a snappy word or two from you guys on what, in your opinion, each of you, makes South Africa so unique as a wine country. A little conclusion soundbite. John, take it away.
Well, I'm afraid I have to revert back to what's become a bit of a cliche, but it's true, which is that South Africa, you talk about riding the line, but the line that I think it rides best is that line between classic old world and classic new world. You know, South Africa, you could say in the past sometimes it's fallen between the stools. I think now it's taking the best of both of those and offering it at an extraordinary value proposition.
Brilliant. Rebecca?
How can I possibly better the words of our Supreme Leader?
I was saying he's got it absolutely sorted.
No, but you know that they are the wines at their best are sort of on this sort of tightrope. There is the new world thing, there is the old world thing. They can appeal to both, but you know there's a stylistic mastery that I think you know only very few wines had 5 or 10 years ago, which we're seeing much more of. And there's so much more freshness and integrity in the wines, and they're an absolute smash. You know, come get us.
I'd just reiterate the sustainability message. Love your land, keep on loving your land, keep on encouraging everything that grows there and everything that lives there, and grow your vines with them rather than over them, and become a real proper wine growing country that loves its country and its land. It's farming, it's farming, never forget that.
Beautifully said, and I will add that as a unique point, it is probably almost definitely the most beautiful wine country in the world, at least to me. So on that note, I would like to say cheers. Thank you very much, South Africa. Thank you, IWSC, and thank you all.
Cheers. Thank you.